Hello everybody and welcome to Filled My Head, the channel that presents the United States and the world in lists of 10. Unless it's Friday, then we like to take 5 minutes to present a Fast 5 list. Unlike our main episodes, we skip the head-filling track and just give you the basics. Nobody wants to work really hard on a Friday. Today we're looking at what to think about when you choose to relocate somewhere new. This is part 2 of a two-parter, and no, 5 and 5 do not equal 10. We're approaching the question in two ways, and in part 1 we looked at the 5 financial considerations you should consider when relocating. Today's Fast 5 is all about intangibles. With that said, let's take a second look at deciding to move. Unlike the financial aspects of moving, there are no calculators for the intangibles. There are definitely data sources to check, and we will link some of those in the notes. But ultimately, when it comes to intangibles, all we can do is suggest some areas for you to do your research. Telling you what to do without giving you the data to check yourself is not what this channel is about. There are plenty of other sources that do that. Let's get to the list. Today it will be in no particular order of importance. Climate. We launched this channel with 2 episodes on climate, and there will be a lot more. Yes, we love to talk about the weather, but we spend an enormous amount of time developing tools to help us get to answers about climate quicker, and honestly, we don't want that effort to go to waste even a little. We have a couple of NOAA sources linked in the notes, but when you start sifting through, we suspect you will see how overwhelming it can be. Still, if you have one place in mind, the number of records you need to sift through will be relatively small compared to the thousands and thousands of rows of data we used. You can also just keep tuning into Filled My Head to get answers, of course. We like that. Economic opportunity. This is different than financial considerations, as it's a reflection of what the job market looks like at a moment in time as well as historically. Unemployment may be at 4% now, and perhaps it was 6% 3 years ago, but how do both of those compare to the U.S. as a whole, as well as to other areas you might be considering? If you are into fun subjects such as GDP like we are, then you might use that to take a look more in depth. Some states that are both large and growing very rapidly don't look very healthy in this regard. Education and public services. There's a lot of information out there about these items, particularly education. For us, just our opinion, we think many of the analyses are questionable. For instance, one source we saw looks at safety in schools when ranking states for education quality, rather than just looking at the obvious, how well students do at answering the same questions in different states. To us, if your school is super safe, but students can't answer core knowledge questions as well as a state that has quote-unquote unsafe schools, you are actually much worse in terms of education. Ultimately, your kids need an education and a future, and your parents are going to get older and may need to come live with you, or at least near you, later on in life. So is where you are going to be able to support those critical priorities or not? Watch Filled My Head for numerous education episodes. We will link the data in those episodes as well as sift through why the data matters. Things to do. It's amazing to us that this doesn't pop up in every single discussion about what to consider when relocating. Unless you're a homebody, which there's nothing wrong with that, you will likely eventually want to get out and do something. Some states literally have one main attraction, and it can be 4 hours away from where you settle. Others have festivals, concerts, sporting events, and more on a regular basis, as well as having set places to go and things to do, such as swimming at the beach. We won't link anything in the notes because we really couldn't cover it all. Nearly every city in town, though, has a website that covers all of the reasons you would want to be there. While we tend to see them as mostly sales pitches, they do at least give you a place to go to get the gist of what you could be up to on a Friday night. Before we get to our final item on the list, we wanted to highlight that there are a lot of ways to get at intangibles. While we certainly favor data sets, not all intangibles have a quantitative element to them, and that means they are subject to opinions. So go after the opinions. The world is small these days, and it's generally not hard to find someone to ask questions of that shares some of your interest while also residing in a place that you're interested in living. I'm an avid wildlife photographer and am somewhat active in posting pictures on an online photo site. When I travel and take a camera, I can generally find someone in the area without issue, and most of the people are happy to share local hotspots or even their favorite hideaways. Access to quality health care. In part 1, we encourage everyone to take a peek at the cost of healthcare in the area that they are considering relocating. This week, we're going to suggest that you look into the availability of good healthcare. This is much easier said than done, of course. While there are a lot of online resources that rank various places using a variety of both public and secretive methods, we're skeptical that there are a lot of use to the layperson who just wants to ensure that they can get good help if they get sick. We aren't doctors and we aren't going to give medical advice. What we will do is offer a few suggestions of how you can approach forming your own opinion with raw data. Try Google Maps to start. Look at where you are considering moving and check out the hospitals and doctors in the area. Are there 5 private hospitals within 10 miles, or is there just one in a huge geographic area? Go to the websites for the hospitals and check out their doctors and services. Where do the doctors go to school? How many specialties are there at the hospital? Do you need to travel a great distance if you get really sick? Look at doctors' websites in the areas because obviously not all doctors are associated with a hospital. When you look at those, see how long the doctors have been in practice. Is there a group of doctors that seems to have all come online at the same time? Are any of the hospitals in the area research centers, and if so, what for? Again, these are questions you can research without relying on someone else's secretive ranking schemes. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us. We appreciate your time. Check out our sources linked in the notes. If you like what you have seen, leave us a like. Subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when we post new content. These things help us a lot with the algorithms that drive the YouTubes. Have a great weekend and check in with us on Monday when we will be posting our next top 10 list. Thanks.